Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that should be benched for lack of effort.
Hey.
My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, everybody.
And this week, we are discussing the first place St. Louis Cardinals, Tommy Edman, Jack Flaherty, the catcher situation, and some news and notes from around the league. If you have an idea for the opening joke, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Well, Ben, it's finally about to happen. We haven't really talked about it on the show, and maybe that's because you like to live a deeply private lifestyle. But you know what? You are a professional podcaster now.
Facts.
And
yes,
we owe it
to
our listeners to talk a little bit about you. In your life, because that's really what people are here for, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm extremely interesting. Yeah. Everyone tells me that.
So Benny Boy here, our very own Hambone, is getting married.
Hey.
So congratulations. And
thank you.
We have been planning for quite a while, a little weekend for the boys.
Yeah.
Make Tyler O'Neill proud.
Long enough that I'm like almost concerned about what's happening.
We're definitely doing it for the boys this weekend. So Ben doesn't know that much, but he does know we're going to Boston. Gonna hang out with Packy Naughton. Working on my Peter Griffin. Hey Ben.
It's okay.
Hey, we're gonna go and see Packy Naughton. All right.
Just like that one time.
Hey, that reminds me of that one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
See that this is why Seth McFarland is very rich and you're not.
Ouch. Give me time. Give me time.
All right.
Yeah. So how you feeling? You ready?
Yeah, like Nate just said, I don't really know anything about it other than I'm going to a place. I let Nate know that my flight is at 5 a.m. tomorrow, and I am not a morning person. So we'll see how that goes. I'm either going to I'm either going to pass out or just like start drinking early because I think there's no laws when you're in the air, right? About like I can do whatever I want.
I do think it's international airspace as well.
Yeah,
just like water.
Yeah. So I'll maybe I'll have a cocktail.
My problem is I'm on American Airlines, so I think it stays American soil when you're on an American Airlines plane.
But yeah, no, I mean, obviously I'm excited. The Mary, my fiance,
the Mary, as we call her.
Is that what I said? The Mary.
Yeah.
The Mary, which is how she demands I kind of
right.
I talked to her when no one else is around, so I guess I really pulled back the curtain. But the Mary and the ladies just had their weekend last weekend, and seeing them come back and all the fun that was had, I think that's got me a little bit juiced up. Also, a little vacay. Benny needs a vacay. Daddy needs a break. Okay, I work hard for the money. All these medium bucks that I got pouring in. It takes a lot of effort. So yeah, I'm excited to see the boys. See Packy. I'm excited to take some time off work. I'm excited to hopefully survive. It's funny because people have been asking me, "Are you excited?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I just like for what I don't know." So it's like how to qualify it. That's good.
I'm gonna get my ass kicked by someone in Boston. I'm sure of it. Hey, I'm walking here.
Yeah, that's New York.
I know, and that's part of the problem.
I see.
We're doing another tab after dark here. We had some scheduling issues, so we're recording here at night. Actually, the Cardinal game is on right now, so we're watching the Jack Flaherty start.
Well, and to give you an even more precise time of when we're recording, Jack Flaherty has been pulled and Johan Oviedo is now in. Jack Attack not being awesome. Although first came back, it was funny hearing Dan McLaughlin say "jack off" earlier in the broadcast. I was kind of half paying attention, and I think Jack was off the mound, but I just heard Jack off because I'm a child, and
That's
that made
good
me laugh.
content
So
right there. Yeah.
that was probably the best part of Jack's start, with hopefully more highlights to come.
Not great when that's the highlight.
No.
But yeah, we both will be in flight in under 12 or even 10 hours from where we're recording right now. So wish us luck. Congrats, Ben. I'd say the odds of survival are good.
Yeah.
Like compared to your normal hermit lifestyle, obviously this is we're increasing the odds of, your survivability is going down.
The reason I even bring up the survivability is because I've gotten, over the past couple of months or so, I've just gotten like a text here or there from some people who I assume are going, that are like vaguely threatening my personal safety. And yeah, I won't divulge more than that, but that's kind of what's happened. And so we'll see. This might be the last episode with me on it. I will say, if something happens to me, Nate, I want you to drive forward with the podcast.
Okay. And if something happens to me, shut it down.
Deal.
I'll just say I hope you don't like your face too much. All right. So
I don't.
All right. That works out. Well, let's we'll see how it goes. And our timing on this is perfect. We record on Wednesdays and we're going to be gone through. So we'll be back at the end of the weekend, and we'll have a couple days of recovery. We'll talk about how it went on next week's episode, because I know this is the driving content people come to this show for. Yeah, I just felt like we had to talk about it a little bit.
I think there's a high probability that next week's episode is maybe a little sluggish. So we got to build in the excuse now.
We got to, yeah. So we do, however, have a lot to talk about. It's only been a week since we recorded, but it's been a very eventful week. Setting it up a little bit, we had the Cardinals were swept by the Rays, which sucked. It's a tough team. The Trop is weird. And there are a couple bad breaks. It almost didn't go that way, and it is what it is. But after that, the Cardinals have suddenly turned it back on. Of course, it was two very bad teams, which is great. But it's left us with a lot to talk about. And I think the first thing we have to talk about is that we are now on June 15th, and the Cardinals are in first place, which is...
Wow.
Amazing, right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that it was, this is the Brewers division. The Cardinals can't put anything together, and we're going to be chasing them all summer. And here we are now, a couple game lead. The Cardinals have looked, they're doing what they need to do, which is beat up on bad teams. It's been inconsistent results against good teams, but nothing horrible except for the sweep against the Rays. Is this more the Cardinals exceeding or the Brewers failing? Maybe it's a little bit of both here, but either way, first place is first place.
Well, yeah, I have a little note on that. Yeah, the Brewers, so they're 1-9 over the last 10 games. And I think what's surprising about that is that, since the beginning of June, only the Pirates and the Rockies offenses have been worse in the NL. Pirates, not surprising, be on that list. And if you pay attention to the Rockies, not surprising, be on that list. Right. And by no means, I think, did you or I or anyone in the National League really think that the Brewers offense was going to be a force or whatever you want to call it. But I think that, with Yelich, Rowdy Tellez has had a great season. We all love Colton Wong. Adames, there are players on that team, McCutchen, who has, admittedly had a slow start. Definitely would not have pegged them for being, in the bottom third of the NL in offense. But so that's somewhat surprising. What is absolutely surprising is that they have the second worst pitching in the NL since that point in the season, since the beginning of June. The only team that has worse pitching production, and I'm going by the Fangraphs WAR, just to make this conversation simple, is the Nationals. And And if you're paying attention, the Nationals have a bunch
we're on both of those lists too.
Right. And the Nationals have Josiah Gray and end of list.
Yeah. Strasburg came back for one start and then is back on
injury.
Yeah. I mean, I think, going in, the game plan for the Brewers was to have maybe the best pitching in the NL, or at the very least, the best pitching in the NL Central, and have a good but not great, but not bad offense and a pretty good defense. And they've definitely had the injury bug a little bit. Peralta is going to miss a good chunk of the season, and he had a slow start. He was looking great right before his injury. Woodruff has been pretty rough, and he's been wood rough, and
so good.
Set myself up and knocked myself down for that one. And then he went on the IL. And then, Hader was hurt for a little bit. Like they've really had some difficulty there. Only Corbin Burns of their big three has really been consistently good, and you need more than one starter. And then the offense, Adames, who's looked good, got hurt. And then everyone else has basically been mediocre at best. So they're definitely kind of getting worst case outcomes right now. I don't think they're done by any means, and Woodruff should be back soon. And, it wouldn't take much for them to go back to being one of the best teams in the NL.
Yeah, but I think this fight is far from over, but, as we talked about, this is the kind of thing that can snowball. If you have pitcher injuries, and that is, how the entire team is kind of set up, then that can really snowball quickly. And also, as we've talked about, they had the easiest strength of schedule in the first couple of months of the season, and now that's really changing. So I do think, the cards are stacked against the the Cardinals, but the cards, the universe's cards.
He did it too.
Yeah.
It's a bad time of the season for their guys to get hurt. As the season gets difficult, they are they're really struggling, and they're falling apart, and the Cardinals are reaping all the benefits.
According to Baseball Reference, their most productive position player this year has been Jace Peterson.
Not great. And how are you judging productivity here?
But Baseball Reference WAR, I believe. I think I said that. Maybe I didn't say that, but yeah, he has 1.4, which is also shockingly low. The Cardinals, half their position players are above that. But yeah, Jace Peterson has 1.4 Baseball Reference WAR. So that's just not going to win. That being said, Brewers can make trades. They can do interesting things. I mean, they changed their team last year with Willy Adames. They could do something similar this year. Who knows? I think their GM is very smart, and their owner has proven to be competitive and aggressive when the timing's right. So definitely not time to count them out, but it's really nice to be in first place and see them struggling.
Hell yeah. And hey, it's not like the Cardinals haven't had some really great performances on themselves. It's not just that the Brewers are struggling, but they're also outside again of the sweep from the Rays. The Cardinals have been doing pretty well. We had a few standout things that we thought we should definitely talk about this week. And I don't think we can go any further into this episode without talking about the so close.
Oh my goodness.
So close. Ben, have you ever seen a Cardinal no-hitter?
No, they were talking about, so I was listening on the radio, and the last one, it was 2001. It was Bud Smith.
Yeah.
I was not, if I was watching that, I wasn't online enough or paying attention. I was too stupid and young to really be knowing what was going on.
I remember it happening.
Yeah.
But I did not watch it. So, and it wasn't, in 2001, I could fire up AOL maybe and, and watch some footage, but for the most part, no, I only remember it happening. And so I really thought, man, I really try not to get my hopes up on that stuff. But when it was down to that last out, I was like, I had not watched most of the game, but I've been tracking it, and once it got to like, oh shit, Molly and I put it on, and damn,
yeah. So we were the Mary and I were at the gym. The Mary was at the gym, and I like to listen to the Cardinals
another
games.
Friend of yours?
Yeah. GYM.
Okay.
And I like to listen, on my
You go to the
headphones.
gym?
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Couldn't
Pretty impressive.
wouldn't have noticed.
I kind of just like to observe. So, walking around doing my, my visual inspection.
Just strutting.
Yeah, just strutting. And anyway, so we're kind of listening to the game and, it's about time to leave. So I'm listening to it. And then it is, one out in the bottom, in the ninth. And we walk over to the back of my car. And I'm just like, oh my God, Mary, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. So I take out my headphones. I pull up MLB app. I put it on my phone. We're just like sitting in the back of my truck bed, watching the game in the parking lot with the volume on. And when that hit went over Bader's head, I couldn't control myself. I just screamed in the parking lot. Yeah. Mary looked at me like I was a psychopath. And then we, kind of got our stuff together and left. But it was a pretty funny, I think I went from 0 to 100, as far as like my engagement level.
Basically same. And Molly was sitting on the couch behind me, and Pixel, our cat, was on her lap, and she was like, regardless of how this ends, whatever you do, don't make Pixel freak out and stab me in the face. So I had a more reserved reaction than screaming, but I wanted to scream. And oh man, I thought he had it, Bader. I've seen some criticism, and I think that's easy for you on the couch to say.
Yeah, come on. Well, first off, there's multiple factors. First off, like that hit, the fact that he hit that pitch that hard was impressive. It was a good pitch. It was a wide and outside, an outside and low curveball. Maybe not his best curveball, but it's still well located. In that position, in that situation, Bader has to play in. You can't let the blue pit beat you. You kind of have to make that. I'm going to steal the blue pit, and if he crushes it, he crushes it. What am I going to do? And John Denton, the beat writer for MLB or .MLB or whatever the Cardinals beat online, did a little research, and it was something like just under a 20% probability catch chance, which is a 5-star catch. So Harrison Bader is one of the few people in the league that could have made that. Maybe he makes that 20% of the time. Maybe he doesn't. But that was extremely difficult catch. And what are you going to do? I mean, that was exciting. I think what's more, let's kind of try to move on from that a little bit. And I think the thing to really hang your hat on is that Miles Mikolas has had 2 back-to-back games where he's gone the distance. One against the Rays, and then obviously last night against the Pirates. We talked about
120. I mean, he technically, didn't get the last out, but 129 pitches.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. Yeah, he did not throw that final, but for I guess in the other game, he only threw 8 innings as well. So I'll take both of those comments back. And he did a lot of work. We'll say it.
Yeah,
we'll say that.
Well, and they needed it yesterday. The doubleheader. Pretty much all of the premium relievers had been used in the first game, and while the Cardinals generally are looking pretty good right now, the back half or the front half of the bullpen, the less used part of the bullpen is I think a weakness on the team, or an inconsistency on the team at the very least. So having Mikolas go the whole game or most of it, was not just valuable as it always is, it was kind of needed for that game. So I mean, he's been incredible this year. I mean, it almost capped off of what has been a phenomenal year for him with this, but either way, you take it.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting is Ali said that he had him for 120 pitches going into that game, which is a lot. And kind of like, I think that's part of because he only went 80 something the Rays game, and he's had 6 days off, and he's going to have 6 days off again. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. I like that. He's, I don't know if Miles was trying to ape Pete or not, or maybe it was Kinzer. One of the two of him or Kinzer said in the post game that Miles is a big, strong guy. And I'm not sure if that was I don't know if they were just in the moment and they were just, trying to give a camera something, or if they were aping Pete. And that was very funny to me.
We make fun of Pete for it because of how many times he said he's a big, tough guy in like 30 seconds. But I have to imagine most of these guys have referred to themselves as big, strong guys.
Yeah.
at least once in the last month, every professional baseball player has called themselves a big, strong guy. So I think that's just something that they all do.
It's just like some baseball vernacular we're just now coming into knowledge of.
Yeah, he's a baseball rat. He's a big, strong guy. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. It's a bummer, big picture, but when you break down the actual game and what it was, it's still, what a phenomenal outing for Mikolas. I think the other thing that really stood out to me, at least over the last week, and I think this is a long time coming, at least for this show. You and I were both. I won't say we were haters, but I do think we owe Tommy Edman a degree of an apology for, maybe not an apology, but I think both of us were really skeptical about the long-term impact of Tommy Edman, and last year looked like maybe the peak outcome, sort of a slap hitter who steals 30 bases and plays good defense. That looked like that was maybe the best we were going to get from him from an offensive standpoint. And I don't know if I said this on the pod, but I think to me it felt like it was Tommy Edman was an 80% chance to regress and a 20% chance to improve. And I really thought it was going to be more the regression. I think you and I were calling for even as much as a month or so into the season, we were saying he's a utility guy. Let's move him around the infield, and he deserves at bats, but let's not overplay Tommy Edman. And here we are now going into June, and you've got a few stats here for us.
Well, yeah, and I think probably the best way to illustrate how stupid we are is that we had our beginning of year heroes and hatchlings draft, where we draft 3 big leaguers and 3 minor leaguers, and we see who's going to have the highest WAR total at the end. And both of us did not draft Tommy Edman.
Yeah,
it wasn't even on our radar.
Nope.
And to that point, he is currently leading Baseball Reference in WAR. He is the number 1 position player in Baseball Reference. He is the 7th position player in FWAR with 3.2, which is that's kind of the one that I use a little more.
Same.
Or at least the one that I kind of guide my life by. But anyways, that means that Tommy Edman has been a top 10 player in baseball this year. So what else is there to say other than that we were wrong? And I think I think everything you said, I agree with the way that I felt. And I think just to add to that, I think I thought that Tommy was overexposed. Not that he was a bad player, but the league caught up to him. He's somewhere in between, like you were saying. What percentile was he going to show up and show out as? I don't know. But I'll say the defense at short has been better than I expected, although I thought it was going to be fine. The speed has been amazing, but just the approach at the plate, the fact that he's walking, the fact that he's driving the ball, he's hitting from both sides. He's doing everything. And having him, the kind of positional flexibility that he has in concert with Brendan Donovan just makes this team look so deep out of nowhere. It's incredible.
Well, I think it was Goldschmidt who said Tommy Edman is everyone's favorite player on the team. So
that's
he's
awesome. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. And obviously Goldie's getting a lot of the accolades right now because of the power and the the depth of his offensive explosion this year. But Edman's defense at premium positions is making him, at least from a WAR perspective, more valuable than Goldschmidt, which is truly incredible. And what really stood out to me and why I wanted to talk about it this episode too is that walk-off home run in the bottom of the 9th. I mean,
there's a line drive.
Yeah. And it got me thinking that obviously you and I are fans of baseball, and I like baseball 10 times more than I like any other sport. And sometimes it's hard to why, why? And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think that a walk-off home run, and one where not just where you're tied, but where you're actually down and the home run makes you from you're about to lose the game to you have won the game and it's over, I think is maybe the most exciting thing in sports. And I used to be a big football fan, and you get a little bit of that in football with like the breakaway play, where it's the end of the game. But even that often,
there's still time on the clock though.
Yeah, there's still time on the clock. Nothing's guaranteed. And like a lot of times those game-winning touchdowns or whatever, they're the culmination of a build-up, right? You can kind of feel it coming, and then, which is fun, and it's like, yeah, and that's fun. But there is nothing like what you get with you're down to your last strike, you're down by one, and one swing of the bat, and the game is over. And we got it on both sides this week. The Rays did it to St. Louis, and I mean, what a deflating feeling. And then we get it against the Reds, and it's just like, yeah, this is one of the reasons why I think baseball is the best.
And not, to pick on those two examples you have, they're also like kind of slap hitting shortstops. Are the two guys that did the walk-offs, with Taylor Walls, being, almost an exclusively glove guy, and then banking one off like 3/4 up the foul pole was pretty impressive. And then the same side, Tommy Edman, that was a screaming line drive that just barely made it over the wall into the bullpen. But he hit the hell out of that ball. And I think you're right. The fact that anybody can do it at any point in the game, and all of that. I totally agree with what you're saying. I actually had somebody ask me what is one of the reasons I love baseball so much, and the example that came to me at the top of my head in that conversation was the fact that Aaron Judge and Mookie Betts both play the same position. They're both dominant players, and Mookie Betts might be half the human being, like mass size, as Aaron Judge, but they're both fantastic, and they both, can bring a similar skill set, just obviously in very different ways. And I think that in concert with, obviously we just love baseball, so I love everything about it, but when you're trying to sell somebody on baseball, walk-off hits, I think there's nothing more fun. I think even when you're in the stadium, you're high-fiving people you don't know, you're throwing popcorn, everybody's just losing their mind. There's just nothing better.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so this is our Tommy Edman appreciation moment. So
we're officially appreciating you, Tommy. Thank you.
At what point does he become a Tom or a Thomas?
I think he's big Tommy energy for a while. Maybe once he breaks like 34, 35.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like Joey Votto's 38, 39. He's still Joey.
It's a good point.
So
Joseph Votto.
Yeah.
Well, he's on TikTok now, so he's regressing.
Well, he's midlife crisising. He said that in the Sunday Night Baseball. He's fully well in his midlife crisis.
Yeah. So we have a few notes we want to run through with some other fun stuff that's going on with the Cardinals. So Tyler O'Neill is back, and he's looked pretty good.
Hey, he's hitting the ball. He is not swinging. He's swinging and missing like he always does, but he's swinging and hitting the ball really hard. We're getting a bunch of plus 10, 101, 102, 104, 5, 6, 7, 8s off the bat, which is great, seeing his exit velo up there. And the team, I think we've heard ad nauseum that lengthening of the lineup. He is one of those guys. At least he has some reputation. He's not as kiddie as some of the other guys, and obviously that's great to see. And I think this podcast was pretty firmly aware that was not early season Tyler O'Neill was not going to be how this whole season played out. That being said, thank God he's hitting now, and it looks so much better.
It really does. Speaking of hitting, and someone who just roped an 2 RBI double, Brendan Donovan continues to hit, and
it does not make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting because he's hitting just a shit ton of doubles.
Yeah,
he still only has one home run, which is fine when you're hitting 380 with most of those being doubles down the line. So you don't need to hit home runs if you hit everything. But I mean, we said it before, like the team's getting healthy, but you can't not play him. He has to be in every game.
And what's blown my mind about his performance is that, what we've seen, especially in the last handful of years, young guys will come up, the league hasn't adjusted to them yet. Their hair will be on fire, and then everything will calm down.
Yeah.
His June numbers are the best numbers he's put up. He's got 382 average and a 452 on base percentage in June. And we're halfway through the month right now. The guy's only getting better. I don't know, like, can a player sell out for quality plate appearance? Like, he's not selling out for power or anything like that. He is just fully committed to working the count, trying to walk. And if they're not going to walk him, he'll slap it somewhere. And I mean, obviously it's working.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that all baseball fans probably, or why I think we're enjoying this so much, is that his profile or what he's doing right now is so different than 70% of the league's offensive players, where it's just mash, mash, mash. He is, like you said, he's slapping doubles. He'll take the single. He's walking a ton still. And he's not really striking out that much. And I think there's something it's like Luis Arias on the Twins. There's something really refreshing about being able to watch a guy who isn't striking out 150 plus times a year. And he's, even though the power does come with that, it's not always the most aesthetically pleasing version of baseball. So yeah, Brendan's amazing, has been amazing.
It balances when you do have just a couple mashers on your team. You've got Goldschmidt, you've got Arenado, we are confident in O'Neill's return. So you don't even really need him to hit 20 home runs. We'll take a 380 batting average and a 450 OBP. Obviously, that's not going to be sustainable, but so far it certainly has been.
Yeah.
And speaking of Goldschmidt, how about that double header? Was it like 5 for 9, 6 for 9? When
he added half a WAR in one day. I think it was 5 for 9, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, a couple of walks. I mean, the man is just possessed right now. And it's going to regress because it has to, because he is hitting, his BABIP is really high. He's gotten some luck, but he keeps hitting the ball over the wall. And what I think is nuts is that he's also walking at a pretty high clip. You expect, okay, maybe Paul's selling out for power a little bit. I don't know. Like when he's having a season like this, when somebody who hits the ball as hard as Paul Goldschmidt is hitting 350 also, that's Albert Pujols territory. You know what I mean? Like, this is not something you don't see a 349 average and a 642 slugging ever like that. Unless you're talking Albert Pujols or Barry Bonds or something like that's the kind of season that we're watching right now, is the ability to hit for power and then obviously walk. I mean, I could talk about that for the next hour. He's been incredible. I can't remember watching somebody play like this since Albert.
No. I was thinking maybe some peak Matt Holliday moments, but even still, not really with this power.
Matt Holliday didn't. He hit the ball harder than anybody, but it didn't go over the wall like Paulie's got it right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's on pace now for approaching 40 home run, if not more, season with that high average. It's really incredible.
If the season ended today, he's on pace for the most home runs he's ever had in a season, the highest WRC plus he's ever had in a season, the highest slugging he's ever had in a season, the highest ISO. I mean, he's doing things that he's done these in stretches. And like I said, I think trying to be a reasonable fan here, we're expecting regression. He'll go back to his numbers a little bit, but this is how he's playing right now. We're watching a 350 hitter. So right now, I mean, this is great. And who knows? Maybe Paul's made the adjustment. Maybe he needs that MVP.
I think he was
robbed so many times.
He was. I mean, it's putting him right back in that Hall of Fame pace, that he was, and then 2019, 2020 kind of dampened that a little bit, and here we are. So we expect regression because what he's doing is insane. But we saw kind of reminiscent of like Bryce Harper in 2015, and he made the full season, and Harper's having a fantastic season this year too. So maybe
with one arm, it's crazy.
Maybe Goldie can steal one from Harper now. I think the last note on the offense we want to touch on is Gorman, who has cooled a little bit as expected. But you make the point here that what's been really great to see so far, and we actually saw it a little bit in this game, and we saw it over the last 2 series as well, is that he's looking pretty good at second base.
Yeah, I think his hands have been softer than I expected. And I'll say, like, if you're converting a third baseman to second base 99 times out of 100, you say, oh, okay, maybe there's some movement that we might lose on this, but the arm strength is going to make up for things. And I will say the arm strength has been incredibly impressive to me, especially coming out of second base. Like, I think a lot of Cardinals fans are, obviously used to Tommy, but used to Colton, who has a very good arm. Gorman's got a better arm than both of those guys. It's not even close. Even earlier today, when we were watching the game, while we were kind of setting up the show, a Pirates player lines a what would probably be a single up the middle. It ricochets off second base. Gorman snags it with his bare hand and then makes a strong throw to first to get the guy out. That was not on the advertisement. Like, that is not what I expected to see Gorman do. I kind of thought that it would almost, maybe I'm being over dramatic, but the ball would hit him in the chest. He would lean down, pick it up, and then throw it. And he has been so much better than that.
Yeah, he's looked really good. It just seems to be playing very heads up and in it. This one wasn't really him. I think this was just executing a game plan, but he was the one who did it. It kind of went around the internet. The running through the ball, or the base at second, where the base is loaded to score the run at home. I don't think it's worth explaining the whole thing here, but if you check out our Twitter, there was a good breakdown, and just a really heads up play by the Cardinals that Gorman executed really, really well as well.
And it's not like, Ali was like run through. Like, Gorman, obviously that was a play that they had been working on, but Gorman had the wherewithal to put it on in real time and make it happen and make that decision. And that's the thing, that you have to make the decision in the last 10 feet or so. So he was able to, see what was going on, baseball awareness, all that good stuff, and then execute. And I thought that was unbelievably impressive.
Yeah, I agree.
For a kid, I mean, the dude's 21, 22, right?
Yeah. So lots of fun stuff on the Cardinal offense over the last week. I mean, anytime you win, 6 games or whatever, it's gonna be a lot more rosy. But again, we're a weekly show. We'll ride the highs when it's going well. It's
absolutely.
So we want to touch a little bit on the pitching. So we've already talked about Mikolas, so we're not going to go through that too much. We already kind of talked about Jack Flaherty. It's just great that he's back. Not the best start. Everyone thought this was going to be a rehab start, so I guess they thought, well, why don't we just have him play against the Pirates, which is not that much different than a rehab start, I suppose. It's just good to see him back.
There were mentions of, it's hard to replicate the intensity of being in a big league ballpark, and Fred Bird and the fans and yada yada yada. So I think it makes sense, see what he can do. I mean, really, the only goal for today's start is to go out there, throw a certain amount of pitches, and feel fine the next day or so. I think that's all that we need. The series is already won. Let's just hope Jackie stays healthy.
Yeah, you mentioned it. You really can't overstate the pressure of pitching in front of Fred Bird.
He'll, I don't know, put his shirt over your head or shove his ass in your face. I don't know.
Or he'll like dry hump you, or put his entire beak over your head.
Yeah, the beak over the head is good. I don't like the dry hump. I don't need that.
It's like a dry humps you with his big fat belly.
Yeah, but he shoves it from shoves his butt so that the stomach wiggles out. I just don't like it. It's unsettling.
I imagine too that the inside of that beak has to smell like shit too.
At the Rockies park, they have Dinger, the dinosaur mascot.
Yeah.
And one of his tricks is that he'll spin his head around 360 degrees. And every time it happens, Mary and I do a bit where we like clutch ourselves, like, oh my God, he's dead. He's fine now. Don't worry. He's all right.
Well, Molly hates Fred Bird, and I think it's fair. But for a very specific reason, which I like, just hating the concept of the mascot too, because the story that I'm about tells very much, whoever was in the costume, but it's worth carrying the hate onto. She worked at a restaurant this always cracks me up. So I'll tell the story on her behalf. But she worked at a restaurant, and like there was some event going on, and at the restaurant, and Fredbird was there to like, he goes and does, it was like a charity thing or whatever. Yeah. So they had Fredbird, and Fredbird had to like hang out in the kitchen area while they were waiting. While he was like waiting to be called out. And I don't know if you've ever worked in a kitchen. I have, but like, it's kind of a fast paced, everyone's really focused on like whatever is in front of them.
There's sharp things, there's heat, there's oil, maybe.
Yeah. And if you're working at a restaurant that has like a big event going on, you're generally focused on your job. And apparently Fredbird in the kitchen was being Fredbird, like in a kitchen. And everyone's like, Fredbird, get the fuck away from me. Like, stop dry humping me when I'm sauteing these onions, I
have a 14-inch knife in my hand, Fredbird.
Yeah, I am sweaty and gross because I work in a restaurant kitchen. So get the fuck away from me, Fredbird. And so, like, what a sociopathic thing to do, whoever was in that costume that day. So, anyway, what other pitching things you want to talk about?
Well, I think we should start this off. We've hit those two things. I got a mini who is this guy for you?
Oh shit. Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, set me up.
Who is this guy?
Perfect. All right.
I'm so nervous. I normally do this to you, and I have no stress.
Well, I think you're going to knock this out of the park. I'm not even going to give you any context for it. I'm just going to say a couple of facts about the player, and you have to guess who this is.
Okay.
All right. So I'm just going to read off. I'm going to read off all three facts, and then you can guess. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Which reliever?
Can I use Google?
Absolutely not. Fool. You're not going to need it. You're not going to need it. Which reliever has the highest ERA in the National League? That same reliever also has the second lowest WAR for National League relievers, and has given up the highest exit velocity. Highest exit velocity and hard hit percentage in the National League. Can you name this guy?
Is it TJ McFarland?
It is.
Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah. So I know I kind of obviously I was being a little bit of a dick there to TJ McFarland, but I bring those stats out to make a point, and I think the point's made just by reading that off and you being able to guess it instantly. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's a big yikes right there. Yeah, I mean, I really thought that he was going to be dropped from the team about a month ago. And I understand, like, you have to have that last guy in the bullpen. It's almost never, it's usually the worst player on the team is that last guy in the bullpen,
But the Cardinals have the last guy.
Yeah.
Like, in the league.
Yeah. They certainly have someone who could be better in the minors.
Even Junior Fernandez. I mean, there's so many names that you could pull out, but I'm curious of why. I mean, TJ, I think he's got 25 big league innings this year, and I don't know. I guess I'm flummoxed, Nate.
I'm flummoxed as well. I don't understand it. It just must be. They don't want to, we are doing a little bit of like a Memphis shuffle right now with all these guys coming up. And maybe this thought is like, you've got to have pitchers, like calling someone up would only hurt whoever we're calling up. And let's just keep TJ for he's pitching in blowouts and in, games we're behind, but not always that behind. Sometimes he's in when with a 3-run lead or 3-run deficit, enough where it's still possible to come back. And then by the time he's out of the game, it's like, all right, we're getting Yadi in the Yadi's going to pitch this game.
Yeah, and I think you have to blame Mo on this one. Like, I'm curious. I'd like Mo to. I know Mo's not going to like come out and say the reason we have this terrible player on our team is because of this. But I'm at the point where I need some more. Like, what are we doing? He's got an 8.80 ERA over 25 innings. Like you said, there are other guys that can do this, or you could trade for somebody, or you could have a position player pitch. Like that is, I know that's a little dramatic, but we're not that far off at this point when he's giving up like the little handpicked stats that I picked should be, enough to scare anyone away from having this guy pitch in the big leagues right now. Anyways, we can move on from that. TJ McFarland is still a Cardinal as of this recording. Another thing I want to talk about as far as pitching goes, Ali Marmol said that Matz recently received another cortisone injection in his left shoulder. Not great news. That happened on Monday. And then on Sunday of last week, he threw off flat ground for the first time. So that is worrisome. The fact that he's needed 2 injections in relatively short order. I don't really know what to make of that other than it doesn't seem like Matz is going to come back quickly. So I guess that just puts more importance on Jay Flair and him coming healthy out of today's start. But not good news.
It's a bummer. We were both pretty excited about the Matz signing, and it's still a 4-year deal, so we're going to get plenty more Matz. But definitely could use him, and hopefully he comes back sooner rather than later because he had some mixed results, but they're definitely not going to get better being on the injured list.
No, and he's a guy that provides innings too. Even if they're not the best innings in baseball, he's a guy that we can reasonably expect to go, 5, 6-ish, and that's something the Cardinals need right now. The last little note I have here on the pitching section is I'm kind of curious, as Hicks starts getting healthy and starts throwing, where is he going to be? Is he the guy that bumps TJ McFarland out of the bullpen? Is he going to be given a start? Are they going to run 6 starters? I don't know what the Cardinals are planning on doing here with, assuming health for Jack Flaherty and assuming health for Matz, like we just talked about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I suspect that the Hicks and the rotation experiment may be temporarily postponed.
Yeah.
Maybe indefinitely. With Flaherty coming back, Palante looking pretty good. Oviedo up now. Like, we were both big fans of Hicks as the 5th starter. He was my preferred choice for the rotation. Incredibly excited that he got the shot, but he did not run away with it. And there's a lot of guys vying for it right now. And part of the reason they put him in the rotation, interesting enough, was to help keep him healthy. So he would have a standard routine, standard, sort of usage, get his body used to it, reduce chance of injury, and he got injured. So seems like the experiment may not have gone, or I would say pretty clearly the experiment did not go as intended, and it would not surprise me at all if he goes in the bullpen. I think you could be right that the only reason McFarland is still on the team is because we have enough guys on the IL that you have to have people to kind of dump as those guys come back. And so instead of calling up some dude from the minors who you're going to have to send back down any day now because someone's going to come back, just wait until Hicks or Matz or whoever comes back. Maybe. But yeah, I bet he's in the bullpen.
Ali's even talked about how he would consider Genesis Cabrera for a spot start or an opportunity at that role. And I think after we saw those 4 innings against the Cubs last week, that we're all I would say interested, curious. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him do that, and maybe if he keeps stretching out a little bit more and a little bit more, maybe that makes sense too. Yeah,
they asked there was a post game thing where Helsley was asked, and he said, "I keep all 4 pitches ready just in case." And so it's a weird thing where the Cardinals both have a ton of options, but also like 0 sure things, except for I guess Waino, Mikolas, and Hudson at this point are your guaranteed starters, and everyone else is best man up right now. Hopefully Flaherty, obviously, but after that, it's whoever's ready and whoever is the hot hand.
Yeah, it's very curious, and just to kind of add fuel to the conversation that we're having right now, Andre Palante coming into the Cardinals game in the 6th right now. So that might, eliminate him from starting at least for the next few days at least. So I'll give Ali credit. He is really patchworking this pitching staff and making it more effective than it needs to be. It's funny because like you said, they have the arms, but how in which those arms are supposed to be deployed and who's pitching when and how many innings is become very complicated. So give
it has
Ali and the team for kind of making that happen, and I guess even more so the pitchers for being flexible and being effective enough to rattle off all these wins.
And it's so damn hot.
Yeah, I miss that. It's been lovely out here in Denver.
It is so hot. I'm sweating right now, and I'm just sitting.
Yeah, we got the windows open today. It's gorgeous.
It is 110 heat index yesterday. Ooh. It's some bullshit.
Yeah, I don't miss that.
But hey, maybe it's why it's part of Goldie's. We're suffering, so Goldie may thrive.
Hell yeah,
Goldie, big fan of climate change. All right.
Eat this shit up.
My words, not his.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got plenty more to talk about, but before we do, as always, we have to remind everyone that this show is supported on Patreon. If you love the show, if you even just kind of like it and want to support our growth, support the expansion of the show, consider signing up for our Patreon at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We've got all sorts of silly tiers and things out there, but ultimately, if you subscribe at any level, you get invited to our Bird Scored. That is our private Discord server where we're talking about Cardinals. We're game planning for these episodes. We're having a good time, and as it grows, I'm expecting us to utilize it even more. And the people that are in there now, shout out to our and big old kisses to our current patrons. We appreciate you, and we appreciate everyone thinking, even considering contributing to our Patreon. You can also leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps. We appreciate that as well. Ben, where can people find us online?
Yeah, make sure if you're not already to follow us on Twitter at TalkAboutBirds. Again, that's at TalkAboutBirds on Twitter. You can also follow us on Instagram, Talking About Birds on Instagram. And you can email us questions. And obviously, they could be about the show. They could be about the Cardinals. You could just, if you want to just chat with us about something. But more importantly, if you ever want to talk to Nate's got a lot of things to say. He's actually currently, I'm going to say he's party planning, because I think Nate had a lot to do with the planning of the bachelor party that's about to happen. So talk to him about that. He likes logistics, flowers, I assume, nice dinners, maybe beach walks on the beach. I don't know exactly. I don't know what to expect, but I'm sure he's done a fantastic job.
Flowers.
And if you have a party coming up, I bet Nate can help. So yeah, I don't think I actually said the email. The email's talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. Please, email the show. Like Nate said, we love the little community, and the more that we can interact, the more fun we're having. And thank you all very much.
I'm starting my own party planning business as we speak, apparently.
Wow. He's writing it down. I can see him.
Yep. Nate's parties. All right. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know. I think now that I said it, I think I'm like legally required to buy that domain.
Legally.
All right.
This is Tab After Dark.
Tab After Dark.
Two morons.
I'm about to take my shirt off. It's so damn hot.
That's horrifying for so many reasons. Why is it that hot that late? Don't have your shirt off. We're on camera.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's what the people want.
Maybe.
Let them fly. So a couple other things Cardinal related we want to talk about. I referenced it at the beginning, but kind of a fake false controversy here. But Ali Marmol pulls Bader for a perceived lack of effort. This was a few days ago, so I feel like this news cycle's already played out. But I don't know. What was your take on it? Your 30-second take?
Yeah, I thought it was curious. I think if anyone is on the Cardinals is going to be judged for their effort put on every day, Bader is not the guy. It almost made me think it was like a planned thing. Like we're gonna show these young kids how the big leagues are. Or I don't actually think that's what happened. I thought a little bit curious, and Bader being ultimate team guy. He came out and said all the right things. And yeah, I don't think it's really a controversy. It's more just something you don't really see much of. And, interesting points for that, at least, like I said, not something you see every day in modern day baseball.
Yeah, my only thought on it was actually sort of a reaction to some of the other reaction that I saw, which is, of course, who doesn't love that? Was that people were saying things like, well, I bet you never see, why doesn't Pujols ever get pulled for this, or why doesn't Yadi get pulled for this, or whatever?
Because they're Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what I was gonna say, is that like that is a frustrating argument, because there is a difference. Roddy, oh my God, Yadi running out a ground ball is not going to change the outcome.
Yeah.
His play style is not a 100% max effort play style. Bader's is, and I think he kind of needs that 100% max effort all the time to be as successful as he is. And so, I think it's a fair criticism to say, Bader, you need to be full effort 100% of the time, and also say, Pujols, I don't give a shit if you fucking crawl down to first base on a ground ball, because it's not going to change it. Because if there's an error that would result in him being safe, it's going to be the type where they throw it into the dugout.
Right.
Like anything other than that, it's going to be an out, and it's not going to change the outcome 99.999% of the time if they are hard running or if they are softly jogging like they normally do. So anyway, that's all I really have to say about that. Moving on, we wanted to take a minute. Speaking of Yadi, I don't think anyone would say he's ever not trying. He obviously is still. You just watch him on the field. He is as engaged and as fiery as he normally is. But the results haven't quite been there. And to make matters worse, because he is a 38-year-old catcher, Knizner, who is supposed to be the young, spry, sort of, getting half the at-bats, and it's supposed to be the counter to that, he's also deeply struggling. And so at this point, we have a big fat hole in the lineup made by the catchers. So what do you think can be, or like should be done, or even can be done at this point?
Well, I think that's an interesting question, and I think the Cardinals are obviously very limited, and I think they only have a couple of options. But yeah, Yadi and Knizner both have an OPS plus below 59, which is almost 50% worse than league average. There, black hole I think is a great descriptor for it, and we all know that Yadi is not going anywhere. So that really means that there's one roster spot to play with, and I think going outside of the organization is always an option. But I think catcher is one of those rare positions where you can't really just plug and play that position as much as you can with a shortstop or a center fielder or even a starting pitcher, right? Like those guys are going to do what they're going to do. But bringing in a catcher from outside the organization, then you have to, do all the the uptime with the pitching staff, with the pitching coach, learn the guys, learn their tendencies, all of those kinds of things. So I don't know. I think probably the main option is demoting Knizner and calling up Ivan Herrera again, which they've already done. That being said, to do that, I think that they would have to be extremely confident that his bat is going to show up right away.
Yeah.
Now to undercut what I just said, it's hard to imagine Ivan
really
Herrera hitting worse than what Knizner's been doing. And I think we could couch all of everything that I just said with the idea that the Cardinals offense looks pretty good. And I don't know if this is something that they need to hit the gas pedal on right away, but I definitely think it's an issue. And I think you can take the Yadi days and just assume that, him and Waino are doing their thing. He called a guy on a balk the other day that the 4 umpires didn't see and had to point it out to him. Like, there's a different thing that you get out of Yadi. Are you getting that out of Knizner? I don't know. I think I'd have to think about that longer, and I'd have to dive into some numbers. I'm not sure I'm seeing it. But it's definitely, I don't think I guess here's what I mean to say is that it's probably the only position that you can actually upgrade reasonably in this season, or at least in this first half of the season.
Yeah, I think you give it a little bit more time. But I think we're heading in the direction of the transition to Ivan Herrera, which was already really the long-term plan. And it is hard to imagine him being worse than Kisner. And either way, like projection has him being much better than Kisner ever was projected to be. I think, he has been seen as the heir to the throne for a year or two now. He already got called up once. So I think we all like Kisner, and earlier in the season, we're like, hell yeah, look at this guy. But now we're seeing, turns out being like a backup for years really doesn't give you the plate appearances you need in order to be continuously successful. So,
yeah. And I think it's worth pointing out that, Ivan Herrera is having a nice season in AAA right now. He's getting on base at 395. And I mean, even some of that translating to the big leagues would be huge. And maybe it is, maybe there is value similar to the Matheny and Yadi transition. Maybe there is value add of having Herrera hang out with Yadi for half a season in a big league ballpark and having those conversations and kind of have the best possible catcher schooling you could imagine, right? I mean, maybe that's the move.
It's hard to imagine why that wouldn't be super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I know it's like the narrative-y type thing, but it's like, do you want to talk to one of the best catchers of all time, even if you're not really starting that much, even if the Cardinals are carrying 3 catchers? I don't think they would do that. But I don't think it would be the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Tutelage and experience and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think sometimes that narrative of like the veteran player gets a little overdone, but like, the catcher position is such a knowledge-based. I think you can teach someone about the effectiveness of being a catcher a little bit better than like, one shortstop giving tips to another shortstop on how to catch a ball. I don't know. I'm not an athletic person, Ben. So
it would make sense. And if Mozeliak and Ali said that together, I think we'd all be like, yep, okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Let's go.
All right. So we've got, I guess we'll just see. This is, like you said, this is really the only story in the position on the lineup right now that there is that like sort of question mark about what do you do with this situation. So I guess we'll just continue to monitor it. We have a few topics from around the league that we wanted to talk about. Can't miss out on some of these hot stories going around the league. So why don't you kick it off here?
I think the only place to start this conversation is with TLR doing TLR things. So La Russa, and this one baffled me. I know he's got defenders on both sides, but La Russa intentionally walked Trey Turner in a 1-2 count. It was obviously the White Sox were playing the Dodgers. Trey Turner's up to bat. It's 1-2 count. My understanding of baseball, and I don't think that I'm smarter than Tony La Russa in any way, but I do think that I fundamentally understand how the sport of baseball works. And the league-wide numbers, the individual numbers, all that. When you have 2 strikes and a guy and 1 ball, the odds are dramatically in your favor, right? Anyways, my opinion doesn't matter. He walked Trey Turner 1-2. Max Muncy comes up, lefty on lefty. He was getting the matchup that he wanted. And then just to make the move make less sense, of course, Max Muncy hits a 3-run bomb to take over
Joe
the lead
Madden's
in the game.
intentional walk with the bases loaded, where every guy went on to score. So it was, just Max bad outcome. I am convinced that he had the count wrong and that he thought it was 2-1 and not 1-2. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And that he didn't want to give didn't want to groove one and was just like, all right, the at-bat is lost and let's walk him. He is denying it. He's saying, it was an obvious move. The numbers support it. There are no numbers that support it. So I don't know where he's coming from. It is a very strange thing. And I'm convinced that it was a mistake, that he has chosen to do what, guys like him do, which is just lean into it and say, no, that was my intent.
Do you want to know Trey Turner's career OPS on a 1 and 2 count?
What?
504. That is
like almost no one has a good OPS on 2 strikes. That's the whole point of getting people to a pitcher's count like 1 and 2 is.
The strategy, yeah, exactly. And the strategy is just insane. You could throw 3 pitches way outside of the strike zone and hope that he swings and misses, and it'd still be a better play, even though it may get to the same point. Yeah.
It's
I don't know.
It's incredibly bizarre. That's why I'm pretty sure the only thing that makes sense to me is he thought it was 2 and 1, and he's too proud to admit it.
That sounds like Tony. Although thank you, Tony, for the championships. We always appreciate that. Next thing on the docket here, this one I don't think is funny or good or anything. It's more just like makes me sad, I guess. But Fernando Tatis Jr., who is still recovering from multiple motorcycle accidents in the offseason. Multiple. I'd still find that baffling. He had a bad CT scan and is pushed back even further. I just want to note that that's bad news, but hopefully he comes back, I don't know, at least in the second half. The Padres are playing so well right now. One of those things where baseball is just better with Fernando Tatis Jr. in the game.
Yeah. He's an incredibly exciting player, and it sucks to have an off the field injury that like no one knew about because of the lockout and all the weakness, and it just continues to perpetuate. And he was already kind of injury prone, at least, or whatever that means this early in his career. So, it sucks. I hope that he comes back healthy. It is more fun having guys like him in the league.
We'll move back into some more fun news. Matt Carpenter cannot be stopped.
I love it. Good for Matt Carpenter.
It is truly incredible. He has 8 hits for the Yankees. 6 of those hits are home runs.
Yeah, he set a new Yankee record. It was like the most home runs in the first 10 games as a Yankee ever. Yankees legend, Matt Carpenter.
Yankees legend. The mustache is still looking fantastic.
It's a great looking
mustache. We kind of talked about this. We were like, why, looking at the numbers he was putting up in AAA for Texas, how does this guy not have a job on the Texas Rangers who are desperate for talent?
They don't want to win this year.
And that's the only thing that truly makes sense, because then obviously, and also curious, I wonder how many other teams were bidding for Matt Carpenter or what that looked like. And it wouldn't shock me if we learned that multiple teams were in on him and he went with the Yankees for, the Yankees of it all, their success they're having this year and everything else that goes
along. Hell, wouldn't you right now if the Yankees offered you a spot, a major league contract? Like,
hell yeah,
they look like the best team in baseball by a mile. So,
and over the past 2 weeks, Matt Carpenter might be their best player. Now that's not really true, but it is. It's fun to say. It's fun to watch.
There's a certain judge on the team that would disagree, but other than that, he is. Yeah, it's been incredible, and I think it's good for him. It is like, damn. I wish that he was doing that with the Cardinals, but whatever happened, I know he trained in the offseason with Paul Goldschmidt and Joey Votto, which is a great training group, and the Cardinals, I think, rightfully moved on from him. And this is just what happens. He basically was terrible for the Cardinals for 2 years. Yeah. And not for lack of trying. I don't think anyone ever accused him of not trying with the Cardinals. Just it wasn't working. And something clicked this offseason. He figured it out. But his contract with the Cardinals was done. And now he's here with the Yankees and he's crushing. And I say good for him. Like,
100%.
I think it's great. I love Matt Carpenter. I've said it before, future Cardinal Hall of Famer. And maybe future Yankees Hall of Famer.
Maybe Hall of Famer.
But good for him. He's a good dude.
To tag that thought, also, would we be seeing Brendan Donovan doing what he's doing? Would Gorman be up if Matt Carpenter's on this team? Would Yepez be up? There's other names that he would have blocked and other moves the Cardinals would have made. So I think it's good for both player and team. And like you said, hopefully Matt keeps it going.
Yeah. Yep. What else? What else you got?
Oh yeah, I'll just keep going here. So this one just made me happy. The Tigers have by far hit the fewest home runs in the MLB. They went 8 games without hitting a home run. And if you haven't been paying attention, not you, but Nate, but I guess the royal you, all of us, The Tigers have been garbage. I thought they were going to take a huge step forward this year.
Yeah.
They got Skubal. They got Torkelson. Casey Mize just went down with Tommy John. They're just not having a great season. But anyways,
they, for some reason, I think, we all kind of thought it was a bad signing, Javier Baez. They picked the worst of all the, shortstops. I mean, he was also
140.
He got one of the lower contracts of all the guys, but still, like, I did not want the Cardinals to take that risk, even though I wanted them to sign a shortstop.
Agreed. How much better Tommy Edman has been than Javier Baez.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so they gone 8 games without hitting a home run. Their longest streak in over 30 years. Somebody found the home run belt that they used last year in storage, brought it out, and the first pitch of the game after they found that, Willie Castro hit a home run, and I just thought that was amazing. And then you saw, Willie kind of running around the clubhouse with the belt on and everything like that, and that's just that's
it. They're having a good time.
Another reason why I just love baseball. The fact that the team can do that. They find some stupid WWE championship belt that has a home run winner on it and immediately hit a home run. It's just, and that's how baseball goes sometime.
Yep.
Okay. The next thing I need to talk about, we have an update on the Tommy Pham fantasy football scandal, and I just I'm just so happy that this is the onion that continues to unpeel itself, and we get to learn more and more.
Ogres are like onions.
I hated that. Wow. And so a lot of this we learned from Commissioner Mike Trout, which also just makes me so happy. Anyways, a couple of things that I thought were interesting is the Giants were sporting black T-shirts that said Fantasy Football 101, stashing players on the IR isn't cheating. The whole team was wearing these during warm-ups before a game the other day.
Good. It's so good. And I also agree. I used to play a lot of fantasy football as well, and it's a standard strategy. That's what that's what you do. It's what the website allows it. So there you go.
Yeah. And then when Mike Trout was mic'd up on Sunday Night Baseball the other night, he did let us all know it's a 12-team league, which I thought was interesting. That's, real money, 12-team league. That sounds pretty competitive. And then he also let us know that Alex Bregman was the winner of the year in question. So, we're going to keep following this beat all year long. The more we learn about this fantasy tournament, but
it's the story that has to be covered. And, you've got the best player in baseball, or at least, of his generation, on Mike, Sunday Night Baseball. You got to get in there and ask him questions about his fantasy football team from the year before.
Well, and another funny thing that he's kind of mentioned in that interview, if you didn't watch that interview, I'd say that's maybe the most charming Mike Trout's ever been. He seemed like a real person, which I think we'd criticize him for being a bit robotic in interviews and everything like that. But obviously a great player. Talking about how he's been getting hit up by everybody in the league saying, how do I get in this league? That sounds epic. And he says he's got a waiting list because everybody wants in this high dollar Mike Trout ran league. But
hell yeah. I mean, wouldn't you? You find out that
absolutely.
How did Tommy Pham get in this league? You got Mike Trout and Alex Bregman, some of the best players in the league, and Tommy Pham's hanging out there.
I have a feeling Tommy Pham might have a not great relationship with gambling, and that might be why people are like, bring Pham in here.
Yeah. Maybe we should definitely speculate on that. That's funny. This story, it's the story that keeps on giving.
Yeah. And anyways, like I said, we'll keep following that beat as it goes on. And this last thing, it's not really league news, but it's something that I learned. And I guess I'll be curious if you know this, Nate, because I found it fascinating. But did you know that there are 22,000 plus baseball players in the history of the game, and there is only one baseball player named Joe Smith?
Really? I have never heard that before.
And I know, Nate, you're probably thinking, yeah, I've never heard that before, because I know there's this guy, Joe Smith. He was born in the 1800s. He played 1 year for the Yankees in 1913. Yes. It was 14 games, 36 plate appearances, named Joe Smith. And what I would tell you, Nate, is that that's not true, because that Joe Smith's real first name is actually Salvatore. Salvatore Joseph Smith. So he went by Joe Smith.
My world is crumbling in front of me.
I know, and I didn't want to do that to you on mic, but I just thought it added to the dramatic tension.
Yeah.
One Joe Smith, who is a relief pitcher. I think he's for the Mariners right now. I can't remember where he's at, but I just found that to be. I was tickled by that fact. And,
the like stereotypical like just dude name, at least in the United States.
Right.
And yeah, that's wild. No, I had no idea, and thank you for that fact. That is, I think that is a fun fact.
It's a fun fact. I thought so too.
All right. Well, speaking of fun, let's get rid of all of that and go into our last segment. We're going to play another game. And Ben, it's funny you had me do Who Is This Guy earlier in the episode, which I nailed.
You did.
Thank you. It's kind of our classic. We haven't done it for a few weeks, so we're returning to a segment called Who Is This Guy?
Who is this guy?
Ooh, you had the cue timed up that time.
Yeah. So if this is your first time listening, and it didn't make sense the first time we did it in this episode, I have a series of facts about a player who at one point played for the Major League St. Louis Cardinals. I start with a very obscure fact, and Ben will have a chance to guess, and I will get more and more specific, or maybe more and more revealing with each fact that I go. And we see how many facts it takes before Ben is able to guess this player. Historically, Ben has been very good at this game. So we'll see how this... I'm setting you up to knock you down.
Yeah, so, the historical nature of that fact I find insulting. I think I continue to be... I am Paul Goldschmidting this game.
Well, we'll see about that, won't we?
I have been successful, and I continue to be successful.
Okay. Well, here we go. First fact. This player was born on August 5th, 1977 in South Holland, Illinois.
South Holland, Illinois.
There's the normal Holland.
Yeah.
And then there's South Holland, which is in Illinois.
Okay. 1977. Okay, so this recent-ish. Say what?
From Goldmember. He's from Holland. Isn't that weird?
Just referencing a 25-year-old movie sequel. Okay, so somebody who is from the area. I don't know. This is probably shocking to you, but I don't know where South Holland, Illinois is. I don't know if that's southern. I don't know if that's outside of Chicago.
It is an unknowable. It's unknowable.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of Cardinals players in the area. 77. So he might even, he might still be around. That's not that old. I'm trying to think of guys in the area. I'm going to say Kyle McClellan.
Good guess, but that is not correct.
Okay. All right.
I did think about doing Kyle McClellan this week.
Yeah.
But no, that is not correct.
You should have.
Fact number 2. This player played with St. Louis and Oakland and spent 9 years in the big leagues.
St. Louis and Oakland. Is that the order, or are you just stating facts that those are the two teams he played with? Or can I ask that question?
Those are the two teams that he's played with. I will not comment on the order.
Okay. I'm trying to think. So the number one player that comes to my mind who has played for those two teams and those two teams only, so I guess I should just guess that person, because why? That's the only thing that's coming to my mind. Don't know where the guy's from, though. Let's say Mark Mulder.
You got it.
Yes.
I almost didn't do that, but I was like, man, this guy is so such a weird moment in Cardinal history that I thought that you would not remember that. So
no, he was supposed to be the guy, and then he was supposed to be the guy. Wasn't. Yeah.
So damn. All right, you continue to Paul Goldschmidt it. I need I think I need to change up like the order of these stats or something. So here's the rest of the stats.
Yeah.
The rest of the facts. He led the league in wins in 2001, complete games in 2003 and 4, shutouts in 2001 and 2003, fielding percentage in 2002 and 2003. He was an all-star in 2003 and 2004, and he was second in the Cy Young in 2001. I thought if you didn't get it after the last one, that you'd have a pretty good idea of who it was at this point. Then stat number 4, and I try to have it where you will, if you don't get it after the first two, like 3, 4, and 5 should be, pretty clarifying.
Sure.
But anyway, stat number 4 was traded by the Oakland Athletics to St. Louis Cardinals for Derek Barton, Kiko Calero, and Dan Herron. And then finally, though they share a surname, this guy would likely not help you with any extraterrestrial problems you may be having. Do you get it?
Is that an X-Files joke?
Mulder and Scully. Yeah.
You honestly, that maybe would have helped me, but I was never an X-Files. I probably would have been like, what the okay. I don't know if that one would have helped me.
I should have started with it.
Maybe it would have really confused me.
Yeah, I mean, you either know it right away or don't at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mark Mulder. He was supposed to be the guy. And
that's one of the. If they would have just kept on to Dan Herron, that would have worked out much better. He ended up having a nice little career there, but made sense at the time. I mean, what could have been?
Yep. Yeah, he was done at 30. Though he signed a contract in 2014. In sort of a comeback bid, but he never made it back. So
poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it. He still made like $30 million or something like that. So he's
it's
doing okay.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about this the Kingery deal. Like, go get yourself a Kingery deal.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, Scott Kingery, I think he played like something like 300 games for the Phillies and made $28 million, and they just let him go.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
It still has generational wealth.
Yeah.
so they'll be okay. But yeah, I mean, obviously that is the other side of it. What you really want is the performance and he looked like, best pitcher in baseball.
He was supposed to be the ace or at least the, second starter behind Carp.
Yeah. Yeah. I just always think about him with that giant whole like shoulder thing on in those press conferences. So, well, I'm sure he's out there having a pretty good time.
Hey, Mark, if you're out there listening, thinking of you, pal.
Yeah, come to Boston.
This goes out to all the Marks out there.
All the Marks. All right, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of Talking About Birds. Good luck to myself and to Ben this weekend as we head out to Boston. Packy Naughton. And I guess that's everything. And we'll be back next week. Same normal time, assuming we survive. And until next week, go Cardinals.
Okay, thank you. Bye. I like burgers when they're in my mouth. We talk about you usually, but occasionally.
I want to talk about me. I want to talk about number one. Oh me, oh my. I did not know I knew any of those.
Toby Keith is forever.
What a bad song.
Yeah.